Good morning, Randy.
Good morning, Eric.
Welcome to my layout, the Gila Springs Mesquite. And look at you, you've got your stuff all ready to go. You've got a timetable and train order, a switch list, your throttle's right over there behind you. So from what I understand, you're ready to operate in Hermosa, but you have some questions about my 3-hole car card and waybill box. So if you want, let me show you how these work.
Okay, yes.
Good with that? Well, let me share that with you so you can get started operating in Hermosa in a couple minutes.
All right, thank you.
I'm running the Hermosa turn, and I'm in Hermosa, ready to start this. I have a pre-filled out switch list. Somebody else did. I'm not going to fill out a new switch list, but some people enjoy filling out the switch list. I'm not going to do that today. What we are focused on today is the car card and waybill box set, which is a 3-compartment set. And I will show you how the car cards move within this box, so as an operator you understand how to use a 3-hole card box waybill set on my layout during an operating session. So we're going to put the timetable and train order aside a little bit. We'll come back and reference that in a little bit. We're not going to focus on any of the car movements on the layout, as the car locations actually track where the car card and waybills are located. So we're just going to focus actually on the car cards and waybills themselves. So first thing I'm going to do is I'll look at the area that I'm working and I'll assess the situation. I understand where everything is located at. I notice I have some cars that are on hold, which a lot of operators and layout owners like to face backwards to indicate that these cars are on hold. So you really don't need to look at them, but sometimes I check them out to make sure these cars are at the location they're supposed to be, or after I'm done switching the area, I'll recheck and make sure that these cars are at the correct location. Our concern for today will be in the work orders box. The Hermosa turn is an out and back type of job, so it starts here in Hermosa. You go pick up all your cars, do your work orders, end up in LaGrange, and you return back to Hermosa and spot the cars you picked up at LaGrange. I'm now going to focus on the work orders box, release, off spot, and pull. A lot of operators refer to it as this, but according to paperwork that I have, they call it work orders. So I'm going by the railroad paperwork that I received years ago, work orders. So I'm going to look at my work orders, pull them out of the box, and assess what I need to do. First thing I have is my caboose card. I have no instructions on that, so that's fine. Normally you might get an instruction to go to servicing or something like that. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'll just put it in my strip. I'm going to scan my cards and look for anything unusual. There's something unusual. I have 2 PFEs that are unusual. This is unusual. And 2 Hermosas. So we'll focus on the PFE cards first. On the layout, these are actually blue flagged if you look at them up high on the layout. And if you look at my instructions, do not move blue flagged cars. So looking at these 2 car cards and waybills, you'll notice it says PFE and Pacific Fruit Express. The 2 lines are the same. These cars belong to the PFE train, so they're not a concern of ours. So I will not touch them. They are also blue flagged. So I'll return these back to the work orders box for the PFE train to come and collect. Our next interest, if we notice, I have 2 car cards here are the ones that say Hermosa on them. We're in Hermosa now. So what's special about these 2 car cards that say Hermosa on the top for the location, and they're in the work orders box? They should be off spot, or something needs to be done with them. So I'll look at these 2 car cards and I'll look at the locations where they belong. And the CB and Q belongs at warehouse C. I can walk over to warehouse C. It is not there. So I got to figure out why it's not in that location. And the SP0193 it belongs at Bats at the bulk transfer. If I walk over to Bats, it is not here. So more than likely these are off-spot cars and need to be correctly spotted or placed at their proper location. Where do off-spot cars end up? In Hermosa, they end up on the team track. So if I walk over to the team track, I can see the CB&Q 19825 is sitting right here at the team track. So it's going to have to be spotted at Warehouse C when the Illinois Central car is removed. Southern Pacific 0193, usually read the last 4 numbers, 3 or 4 numbers, is located here, and they'll need to be spotted over at Bats. So in this pretend scenario, we'll say that I've already taken these 2 off-spot cars and spotted them. Since they're now on spot or placed, I'll take these 2 car cards and I'll put them in the placement box indicating that these cars have been taken care of and handled, and now they're in the placement box or on spot. Another thing you'll notice is I've turned these car cards around, or car cards and waybills around, to indicate that they've been handled or taken care of. They're no interest to us. We don't look at them. It's a common practice on a lot of model railroads where they actually flip the cars around that are taken care of or handled to indicate to the operator that they are no interest to them. Some people might have little inserts that say hold or whatever behind them, but the common practice is just turn them around. Next thing we'll do is we'll focus on the cars that are not for Hermosa or not for a separate train. So what I have here is I have one that says Gila Springs and Encanto. We're obviously in Hermosa. We're not in Encanto, not in Gila Springs. In fact, the Gila Springs one is going to the grain scales, or the Gila grain scale. So what this indicates, I'm still picking these up. I'm going to take them back to LaGrange with me because they're actually going to a different location. There's nothing else indicating that they're a separate train. They're actually a location. And with the Hermosa turn, anything that's not in Hermosa or not a separate train gets taken back to LaGrange. So we'll pick these 2 cars up. And then I have 3 more waybills left, or car cards and waybills left. 1, 2, and 3. And on my layout, the way it's set up is if it says waybill on the top, you'll have a second line below that with an off-site yard location. So this is Mobest Yard in Phoenix, 7th Street Yard in Phoenix, another Mobest. So these indicate that these cars are actually being pulled off the layout and will eventually end up in staging. But either way, as an operator, this indicates to me that I need to pick these 3 cars and take them with me on my train. So these cars will eventually go to, I'll drop them off at LaGrange. LaGrange will shuffle them into some sort of train going to Enterprise Yard. Enterprise Yard will block them into proper blocking order, and they'll actually end up in a staging track at Salt River Valley Yard, which is my staging location. So there'll be a staging track for Santa Fe, Mobest Yard, and another one for Southern Pacific, Phoenix Yard. That staging is another story, but that kind of gives you an idea how it works. My car cards and waybills are read from the top down. So waybill, if it says waybill, you just keep going down to the next line. And that's how they are read. So Encanto, we just are Gila Springs, so we top down. So at this point, I'll take my train. It's been built. I will leave, and I'll head over to LaGrange and drop these off and pick up my cars that will be coming back. I have made my return trip from LaGrange back to Hermosa. I picked up a substantial amount of cars on that trip. So the first thing I'm going to get rid of, I could leave it here in my box, but I'm just going to put it over here, my caboose card. So I'm not going to mess with that right now. And I'll start spotting my cars. My big concern right now is I noticed I had a lot of cars for RK and Lumber. So we'll focus on those at the moment here. R&K Lumber, R&K Lumber, R&K Lumber, R&K Lumber, R&K Lumber, R&K Lumber. There's only 5 spots at R&K Lumber, and there's only 3 center beam spots, 1 flat car spot, and 1 either all door or boxcar spot. So we're going to have to figure out what we want to do with these, and we'll look at what we'll have to do. So what I'm looking at now is we'll start with the boxcar spot first. I only have 1 spot for boxcars or all doors. So in this case, I'm going to spot the Penn Central Jade Green car in that location. I don't have room for the all door. Next is the bulkhead flat car. I don't have any other bulkhead flat cars. So that one, I can spot that. And like I said, I'm just moving the car cards, not the train itself. Finally, I have the 3 center beams. I can spot those 3 center beams in the 3 center beam spots. And it leaves me 1 boxcar. So right now I have 2 off-spot cars for R&K Lumber. What I'll do now is I'll move those 2 off-spot cars to sit over here on the team track, which is designated as off-spot locations 2. So we'll move those 2 cars over there. But the important part is because they're not on spot, they have not been placed, we're going to take these 2 car cards facing forward because they do need to be spotted or put placement. Eventually, we'll put them back in the work orders box for the next operator to work those cars. And that's pretty much it. I'll sign off. I'm done. And as an operator, that's complete. As an operator, when you're looking at the car card and waybill boxes, they work from left to right. So car cards and waybills normally work from left to right like a book. You'll go from placement to demurrage to work orders, or on spot, hold, load, unload, to release, off spot, and pull. The only exception is off spots or any work orders where they go from here back into the placement box. But in reality, everything works from left to right. And as an operator, you normally don't have to look at the center box and the hold box. It really doesn't concern you. The only thing that concerns you is the work orders and then putting the cars in your placement box. Another thing to note is the wording might sometimes be confusing. I found this wording on a document. So on the document, and it's an office style document, they call these placement, demurrage, and work orders for that railroad. And it basically is how the railroad charges for car movements and services. This is how the railroad makes money. So I figured that's the way that the card boxes should be done. For placement, it costs this much money. Demurrage is the time period or dwell time that the car is sitting at the location. And work orders are when they pull and move those car cards. So I like that idea. But a lot of model railroaders use this terminology: on spot, hold, release, off spot, or pull, or some form of that. So that's why you see the split wording on here, just so people understand that this is what we're using. But if they're confused, they just go down and they can read what they are in model railroad terms. Another thing that's a little different the way I do this is a lot of people like to put their off spots over here in the placement box. So like this. Why I don't do that is what I found out is people will come in to the location, they will spot their cars, and for whatever reason ignore those off spots. So they'll place their cars on there and assume that those two car cards, or those off-spot cars, have already been spotted correctly when they have not. So that's why I like to place all my off-spots in the work order box, so the train crew knows that these cars need to be worked on the layout. So that's why they're over here under work orders. That way, when you come to do your work orders, you look and you go, I need to move these, versus assuming that they've already been placed on spot. It's just my preference. Some people do it other ways. This is the way it's done on the Gila Springs and Mesquite Railroad. Now that my operating session is over and all my guests have gone home, I need to come over and cycle my waybill boxes. I'm going to show you how you do that right now. It's time for the owner of the layout to cycle the car card box. It's really easy to do. What I normally do is I will start over here at the end. I will verify that these are where they're supposed to be, the work orders. I have the box card, the NS card 903 is off spot, and it's sitting over at the team track. And the Aldor 3014 is also off spot, sitting at the team track, so that's correct. The two PFE cars, they're for the PFE train, are still here waiting to be picked up and serviced when that train arrives. So they get returned. They're still in the same location. They're correct. The caboose card, we'll slide it in there because the next Hermosa turn is going to need that caboose. We move over to our hold box, demurrage, or whatever you want to call it. I have two cars here to cycle, and those cars are CV 192 and 045 for Boston and Maine. I'll verify they are at the correct locations, and they are, and I'll cycle those. So that's 1, 2, cycle that, and cycle that. So now those have been moved. My final part of the job is I'll just verify that all these cars are at the correct location. So I'll go down and I'll check them all, make sure they're at the correct location. I will look at, the one thing is Sanford and Son, they can load scrap onto the gondolas quick. So I'll look over here and look for any cars for Sanford and Son. RK, RK, and RK. Oh, I left some of them over here. Let's see, eyes. Sanford and Son. So we'll take these cars, put them in the demurrage box, which is basically a hold for load, unload. I will look at the Sanford and Son. I know that they load the scrap cars really quick, so I will cycle this and put it in the work orders box. And now the car card and waybill box has been cycled, and we are set for the next operating session. I have several different setups. This one's at a town or spot location. I have a different setup that is done for the interchanges and a different setup that is done for the yards. I'll cover those in other videos, but this is the most basic and the most uniform way that people do this on other layouts, so I figured I'd cover this setup first. Tell me what you think about this video in a comment down below. Give it a thumbs up if you really like it, or a thumbs down if you don't. Hey, check out these videos right here. I made those videos for people like you. And as always, stay frosty, my friends. Yeah, I'm going to turn the camera off right now.